Mayoral Debate. Tonight, with just weeks to go before the election, 5 of the leading candidates running to be Toronto's next mayor face off in a CBC Toronto debate.
You cannot work with councillors.
How are you going to be able to work with the police service?
Leadership means good listening.
And you said Scarborough doesn't have the density and doesn't deserve a subway. I know you said that.
Just ahead, we'll have full analysis of the debate. Plus, we sit down with some voters to find out which candidates resonated with them and why. And
it's you can kind of hardly see the cities.
What am I breathing in? It is a bit of a concern.
you can see it and smell it. Forest fire smoke puts Toronto under a special air quality statement. Plus,
finally a convenience store with hot food is actually offering you a cold beverage.
Possibly the silliest idea I've heard today.
This is a joke.
Ontario gives dozens of 7-Eleven stores the green light to sell beer, wine, and cider for on-site consumption. Good evening. The top mayoral candidates had a chance to pitch their visions to voters in a debate here at CBC Toronto today. From housing to the budget crunch, they covered some of the biggest issues facing the city right now. Talia Ricci has a look at some of the key moments.
First, the candidates were asked how many housing units would be underway by the end of their first term.
Probably 10,000, but mixing this is only for building, but 1,000 that would be rent supplement.
I'm committed to building a 285,000 by 2031 that the city has accepted. I went further. I want 57,000 of that as purpose-built rental.
In the first phase, which is 6 years, I will be building 22,000 units of affordable housing.
I would be getting going on building tens of thousands of affordable housing units.
Candidates were also asked to answer yes or no on whether the city should act as a builder to get more affordable units built. Saunders was the lone no, saying that builders build.
City government is responsible for creating the environment to make sure that it's built.
The former police chief was also the only candidate who said he didn't support the city's strategy to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. He claimed the plan was flawed.
It needs to be fixed and it needs to be done better.
Frontrunner Olivia Chow was pressed yet again on why she hasn't said how much she'd raise property taxes to help pay for her promises.
Budgets start with people. Let's look at all the services that are needed, build the budget, calculate how much it costs, and then look at alternate way of financing.
Saunders says his plan would rely largely on spending cuts and reallocating resources. He said he'd need to open the books before deciding what to cut. And of course, it's not a debate without some heated exchanges.
How are you going to be able to work with a police service that you do not like?
Mark, leadership means good listening. I said very clearly that I'm grateful for the service of the police that morning, 2 days ago, very much.
You have cut the police budget every opportunity you possibly could.
Intimate partner violence is huge.
They're taking 20 minutes to answer 911 calls.
Okay, I apologize. Grew after you became the chief.
I'm the first one to say that there's more to be done. That's why my plan will deliver more housing, will continue to invest.
So why should people believe that? You want to
because I have a track record of bringing billions.
You want to upload the Gardner and the DVP to pay for your plan, and Premier Ford has already said no.
And like you, Mitzi, I'm not walking away from the negotiating table.
Your delay has delayed the Scarborough subway. You fought.
What are you talking about?
You fought against that.
That's my question. Do I get
so clearly.
May I just have that 30 seconds to respond to that?
Let's advance voting begins in just 2 days. Election day is on June 26th. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Our municipal affairs reporter Sean Jeffords was part of the debate, asking questions of his own. Sean, first off, what are your impressions of how the candidates performed?
Well, Mayoral, I don't think there were any knockout punches thrown. Everybody kind of walked away intact, and that's what they want from these sorts of events, right? They don't want to risk too much, but they do want to be able to communicate with voters, and I think they were able to do that. Some of the more interesting things actually happened behind the scenes. We got a real sense of, just being able to see how these candidates interact with each other. They've been together a lot over the last number of weeks, so it was really fascinating to watch the collegiality. And they know each other's stories. They could tell each other's stories. They were joking. So.
Together a lot. Yeah, you're right. A lot of debates before hours. Some fiery exchanges as well. So can you break some of that down for us and what stood out most for you?
You know, I was really interested to see Josh Matlow and Mitzi Hunter lock up a bit and talk about Scarborough and transit. I mean, Josh Matlow really fought against the Scarborough subway. Mitzi Hunter championed it for years. So to see them really go after each other on that issue was interesting, but also Olivia Chow and Mark Saunders and some of their interactions over spending. Olivia Chow really pushed back in a really forceful way, effectively just kind of shushing Mark Saunders at one point. So, you know, she's got a bit of fire there. And, you know, Chow also was resisting a lot of questions, pushing back about property taxes and how much she plans to increase them. She's been really dogged by these questions, and candidates have been trying to get her to answer it. She didn't do it today.
Well, she's been the front runner. Speaking of Olivia Chow, Sean, and at this point, can anyone break through? And what does Chow need to do to continue to hold this lead right the way through to Election Day?
You know, you saw it again today. I think Olivia Chow is in the lead. There were some questions to her, some pointed criticisms. And I think at this point in the campaign, it's going to transition. We're going to see more of a focus on advertising, spending money. That fundraising that's been done to this point is going to really be put into effect. Those dollars are going to be spent to target voters and do real outreach to people directly. So, you know, we've got the advanced polls coming up on Thursday. This is that last opportunity to make an impression and break through. And I think you're going to see a lot of people do that through advertising over the next couple of weeks.
And it's going to get a lot more attention now if this advertising comes through just for the public, Sean. Thank you for this.
Thanks, Maribel.
Now, political watchers are expecting a better voter turnout for this election compared to other municipal campaigns. And among those who will be heading to the polls are young and first-time voters. Ali Chiasson sat down with some of them today to get their take on the debate.
Who are desperately waiting.
How are these debates landing with young voters?
They're all essentially saying the same thing in different fonts.
Relatability helps.
Well, I chose my university based on access to public transit. It was taking the Ellesmere bus to UTSC.
Oh, UTSC!
But really, they're looking for more straight talk.
And if you are going to present something that's hard to get at, something that's a bit more unclear, that's less effective to targeting the young audience.
A young audience that rejects the status quo, and they're not taking excuses from the field of former politicians.
What's going to be the change over the next 4 years of you being mayor, right?
Since John Tory resigned, this will be the first time in 8 years that we don't have an incumbent mayor.
It's a lot more up in the air this time. So do you think the younger voters are excited about that and maybe will come out because it actually feels like, hey, we have a chance to make a change?
Oh, for sure. And I think also a lot of the topics being debated in this election, like environmental issues and housing and transportation, because things have been getting progressively worse over time. So I think the fact that these issues are also reaching a boiling point really compels younger voters to get out there and vote.
Me and my friends, we always joke around. We're like, there's no way we're going to be able to buy a house. So I think for now, it is a joke because we're still younger. We're 19, 18. But then as we go into our mid-20s, when we actually want to find places to live, then we're going to realize what a dire situation we're actually in.
Faik Faizi lives with his parents while he studies health sciences at McMaster. He's managing but would prefer to be thriving.
I don't really follow politics that much.
Now that we forced you to watch the debate, what did you think?
I think it was interesting.
Interesting enough to vote?
I think it's a moral obligation. If you want to live in the city, you can't complain if you don't vote.
Do you feel compelled to vote?
I do feel compelled to vote. I have done some of my own investigations online. I know which candidates have released their fiscal policies, which of them have not.
Tough or topical questions all count with this crowd.
Anna Bilo, Drake or The Weeknd?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
And she picked The Weeknd? After Drake has ripped the city so much over his time? Drizzy for life.
I love that being one of the issues that stands out to this generation. That's fantastic.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, if you weren't able to tune in to the full debate today, don't worry. We'll bring you extended highlights later on. in the show. To other news now, a major gas leak outside the Michael Garron Hospital having an impact on a number of residents and schools today.
We were met with a severed large gas line on the outside of the building, quite deep into a trench.
We've heard a little bit there of what it sounded like. The leak occurring at about 9:30 this morning after construction workers apparently hit a gas line near the entrance to Michael Garron's ER. Officials say they measured the gas inside the hospital, but there was no reason for concern, allowing the hospital to remain open. However, the leak did force some residents from their homes for a time. It also meant an early end to the day for a number of area students.
And they contacted us and said if we'd like, we can come pick up our children. And so I picked up my one son in daycare and my other son in grade 1, and we're just going to run back to my house.
Officials say the smell of gas was noticeable several blocks away from the scene. The gas supply to the line was eventually shut down, and there were no injuries. CBC Toronto has now confirmed that all 5 boys charged in a stabbing at Kennedy Station have been granted bail. The boys, who are between 12 to 15 years old, were arrested and charged Friday. Police say a man was stabbed during an altercation between 6 people at the southbound subway platform. He was rushed to a trauma center in life-threatening condition. All the boys face charges including aggravated assault and assault with a weapon. 3 of them were granted bail Saturday, and 2 were released with bail conditions yesterday. They will appear back in court on July 14th. You smell the smoke and see the haze. It's the effects of forest fires. There are dozens burning in Ontario. The federal government says this fire season is set to be the worst ever in Canada. And the fires have become a political issue at Queen's Park. Lorenda Redekop explains.
This fire in eastern Ontario broke out on Sunday in the Madawaska area near Algonquin Park. There are 47 active fires in the province, 26 of them not under control. Some of the smoke is being pushed in from Quebec. More than 160 fires are burning there. Toronto is seeing and feeling the effects.
So the summers in the area are a lot harder for him to breathe just because of the type of dog he is. So that's my major concern, is just we all got to breathe somehow.
Environment Canada says the lower air quality could last all week.
People with respiratory illnesses, particularly asthma, or some people have chronic bronchitis or emphysema, they might have more trouble breathing. People with seasonal allergies might find that their symptoms get worse. Typically I advise my patients during this time to sort of stay indoors.
Forest fires are spread out across a huge chunk of Ontario. The greatest forest fire danger area is in the east, listed as extreme. At Queen's Park, the fires were the first topic during question period.
With the most severe season ever forecasted, does this government recognize the connection between this worsening weather and the climate crisis?
The minister responsible didn't answer that. He says the government has increased spending on wildfire preparedness.
So we've got forest fires every year in Ontario, and a lot of them are caused by human interactions, kind of doing things people shouldn't be doing. So the message that I would send out today is be smart. Much of Ontario right now is a restricted fire zone.
It's pretty scary when a government minister essentially can't make the link between the fact that the country's on fire, our air quality is putting people's health at risk, and he can't make the link to climate change. I mean, it just shows you how out of touch with reality this government is.
Ontario is already above the 10-year average for forest fires at 159. One union says the province is down 50 fire crews this season. Ontario is getting some outside help with 4 aircraft from Minnesota. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Of course, weather a major factor in those wildfires. Matt Hamill from the Weather Network joins us now. How are things looking out there, Matt?
Yeah, well, we've seen the smoke, and certainly at times around the GTA today, Maryville, you can smell it. I mean, it's quite remarkable just how smoky it is, and these wildfires in Quebec are really driving the bulk of that smoke, and we're going to be seeing this continuing into the next few days. And if you thought the smoke was bad in Toronto today, looking like it might be even worse in terms of air quality. So let's unpack how it's shaping up. Here's currently the air quality advisories in effect, even some smog warnings for some Quebec communities. And this is quite a large area experiencing poor air quality. Now, today in Ottawa, we saw air quality on the Air Quality Health Index get as bad as a 10. That is very, very severe. But as it looks into tomorrow and even Thursday, Toronto will be the focal point of some of that poorer air quality. So we're getting into that serious threshold where you're really going to be feeling things like the burning eyes, the throat, the coughing as well, something to monitor. Again, now we do have those major fires in Quebec that are really coming, driving that poor air quality with those northerly winds. Here's some rain. It's really been helping the wildfires in Nova Scotia. Unfortunately, it's just not pushing far enough west to really have a big impact on some of those troublesome blazes in Quebec. We could use some of that rain in parts of southern Ontario as well. Our fire danger rating in some areas getting quite high. When will Toronto see some rain? It looks like Monday will be our best bet, possibly some rain on Sunday as well. But taking a look at our 7-day forecast, temperatures a little bit on the cooler side this week, and we do have fairly sunny skies, but doesn't feel all that sunny with all of the smoke in the air. Now, Sunday, again, we might see some rain. Monday, maybe 10 to 15 millimeters. It's a little far out right now, but that does look like the more substantial rainfall day. A bit breezy as well over the next few days. And again, it's those northerly winds bringing that wildfire smoke, reducing air quality. Overnight, we're seeing temperatures remain in the double digits for areas like Toronto, getting a bit cooler when we head north of the GTA. And for tomorrow, temperatures, again, a little bit closer to seasonal, not the scorcher we saw last week, but Maryville, the big focus is going to be on air quality over the next few days.
Something we'll watch, and appreciate your forecast today, Matt. Thank you.
You bet.
The weather update is brought to you by Train. We test, so it runs. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Special Rapporteur David Johnston faced tough questions from MPs while testifying at a parliamentary committee today. Johnston defended his reputation and his decision to reject a public inquiry into foreign interference allegations in Canadian politics. Rafi Bujikanian has the story.
David Johnston facing criticism in person.
As Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau described you as a lifelong family friend, a friendship cemented over many summers.
I was friends of the father of Mr. Trudeau through his life in politics.
His ties to the Prime Minister painting a target on his back for the Conservatives since March, when Justin Trudeau appointed him as Special Rapporteur looking into foreign interference in Canadian elections and asked him to make the call on whether there should be a public inquiry. Johnston has urged against one, landing him in this seat to explain himself.
The Conservatives just had a total of 15 minutes worth of questions, and they didn't ask a single question about foreign interference. Not a single question. Madam Chair, it was nothing more than a character assassination.
The questions eventually came, including from some of the opposition MPs whose names have been at the center of news reports alleging China targeted them for their vocal opposition to Beijing's human rights record.
Do you not see how recommending against a public inquiry undermines confidence in our democratic institutions?
What we have recommended and what we intend to do in the next 5 months is to have public hearings.
What is your concept of the appearance of conflict, and what does that mean to you?
The appearance of a conflict of interest would be a reasonable person in possession of all the true facts, concluding that a person would not be able to provide unbiased judgment on a particular matter.
Next month, Johnston intends to start public hearings speaking to intelligence officials and diaspora communities, but opposition parties have already voted for a public inquiry instead 3 times now, their judgment of his work proving difficult to sway. Rafi Bujikani on CBC News.
In Ontario, you still can't buy a 6-pack of beer or a bottle of wine from a convenience store and take it home. But 2 7-Elevens in Ontario are now serving beer and wine to drink inside the store with food. Is it the start of a trend? Mike Crawley has the story.
Pop into this 7-Eleven in Niagara Falls, head toward the back of the store, and you'll find fridges full of beer and wine. Something you won't see in nearly any of the thousands of other convenience stores in Ontario.
It's the first step in demonstrating to citizens and people in Ontario that the world won't end because, finally a convenience store with hot food is actually offering you a cold beverage if you want to sit in the store.
7-Eleven obtained a restaurant liquor license for this location. The beer and wine has to be consumed in-store. In downtown Toronto, it's hard to find anyone who's all that keen.
Possibly the silliest idea I've heard today or for the week.
Oh, that's so. I have no idea why they would do that. I can't see anybody wanting to be in the store to drink.
2 Ontario 7-Elevens now serve beer and wine. More than 50 other locations have also received the green light. That's nearly every 7-Eleven in the province.
We shouldn't be expanding alcohol use until there are better programs to support people.
This Toronto City Councillor opposed a license for a 7-Eleven in his ward.
Ontario's liquor laws are designed to protect the rights of a business owner who wants to sell alcohol. They are not designed in any way to manage alcohol use in a way where we're reducing the harms.
Doug Ford campaigned to become premier on a promise to allow convenience stores to sell beer and wine. 5 years later, still hasn't happened.
We're going to fulfill that promise. We've expanded it tremendously since we've been in office.
In Alberta, some 7-Elevens started selling beer and wine late last year, and in Manitoba, a Winnipeg store is seeking a dining room liquor license. For now, at Ontario 7-Elevens, if you want a beverage, you'll have to get a staff person to unlock the fridge. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
From potholes to the destroyed garbage bins to, was this the big headline grabber? That it can take up to 2 weeks to clean up a dead raccoon from Toronto streets? Okay, first of all, just yes or no, but you'll have an opportunity to elaborate in our follow-up questions. Yes or no, do you agree with this statement? Toronto is in disrepair. Mark Saunders.
No, I don't think it's in disrepair.
That's fine, we'll go and we'll carry on with it. Thank you. Anna, Toronto's in disrepair, yes or no?
No.
Josh?
Yes.
Mitzi?
Yes, we're going to fix the 6.
Olivia?
Not completely.
Okay. That wasn't a yes or a no, I'll just point out.
You told us we could explain. We were waiting for that.
There's context.
Exactly. Context, yeah.
And now's your opportunity. So here's the question. On day 1, what is the top thing you will fix and how will you pay for it? This is a 1-minute answer. Mitzi Hunter, let's start with you.
Absolutely. On day 1, it has to be the affordability for me. That's the livability of our city is dependent on people being able to live here. We have young people who are leaving our city. That's putting our economy and jobs at risk in Toronto right now with that brain drain. So I will fix the housing issue. On day 1, I will proclaim that there's no surplus city properties. All of it is going to be for affordable housing.
All right. Thank you, Mitzi Hunter. Let's go over to Olivia Chow now. Olivia, on day 1, what's the top thing you will fix? How will you pay for it? We're asking for your top priority.
Okay, potholes, because it's July by that time. And oh my God, the potholes are really bad. I can't slip into opening libraries on Sundays. Okay. And I think a lot of it is just encouraging some of the city staff to do better, but helping them, providing a bit more funds, because in the last decade, there's a lot of been cutbacks, and that includes the libraries, includes the potholes that are not being filled, right?
And so, in providing them with the funds, where would those funds be coming from?
Well, I already talked about the importance of funding through, I'm not going to do the Gardner because it's 3 years down the road. It's safe quite a million, lots of millions of dollars. And then what you could do is actually open it up to waterfront, and it allows 8,000 units of housing. But back to the potholes, it is really destroying cars. The alignment plus cyclists, it's really quite dangerous. So
Thank you,
we
Olivia.
have to fix the potholes first.
Okay, thank
and
you.
I don't think it'll cost that much money to fix the potholes.
Mark Saunders, what would you fix on day one?
Day
and your
one,
plan to
listen, when I knock on the doors, it is the public safety piece, specifically the subway. The ridership is down 70% right now. Parents are concerned about their kids using the subway, whether it's going to school or going downtown. Family members are concerned about their other family members getting to and from. So making sure that we start that plan in effect right away, making sure that I'm working with the province to see the funding that's necessary, because if we can't get our subways running again and people feeling safe to get on the subways, small businesses will be affected, tourism will be affected. The quality of life, just for the vibrancy of our city, will have a direct effect on the state that it's in right now.
Thank you, Mark Saunders. Anna Bailao, for you. Day one.
As
job one.
mayor, I will be focusing on making life easier and more affordable, and that comes with, fixing a lot of the services that you were talking about, but that will happen with tackling our budget. And to tackle that $1.5 billion can't be done by just increasing property taxes. Olivia doesn't tell us by how much she's increasing, but staff told us that if you're going to use property taxes to fill that hole, it would be a 39% property tax increase that you would need. We have a $46 billion operating and capital pressure as well. As mayor, that's my priority number one, to make sure that we get a fair deal for the City of Toronto so that we can have predictable and sustainable funding, we can fix services, and we can build housing, and we can make life more affordable, not less affordable.
I can give you a few seconds, Olivia, to respond to Anna Bailao in your property tax and the fact that there is no number that you've pinned to this, but Anna's 39% suggestion as well is that's how much property taxes will have to go up.
No. Absolutely not. I talked about the modest increase, but yes, building affordable housing would be the top priority, but I thought you were just asking the questions about the choices that you're giving us in terms of the state of good repair of any number of things.
It's just an opportunity to respond.
I already did earlier on. I don't think we need to go down that road again, but I do agree, though, that we need to work together, all of us, to have a better deal from the federal and provincial government, because we cannot continue the way it is. We have to have a source of revenue that grows with the economy.
Thank you.
We all agree on that.
Got to move on. Josh Matlow, what would be your number one thing to fix on day one?
There are so many different complex challenges that we're facing. We just had a group of refugees come in from Ethiopia and Kenya, and they had nowhere to go. There are a group of people trying to find motels, places for them right now. Yes, the roads are in disrepair. Yes, the TTC has been cut. Yes, it's hard to get our kids into rec programs. We need to open up libraries on Sundays. We should open up schools during after hours. There are so many different challenges that we face. So the number one thing that we need to do is fix the budget, both the governance framework and the financial framework. And I agree, and I hope we would all agree, that the only way to actually address all the different challenges that we face is to both look at both revenue that we need to bring in, and I've already announced that I'm going to do that. We've got to be honest about that. We've got to get real about that. We also need to cut waste wherever it exists and make better decisions at City Hall. And then ultimately, we need a better arrangement with the higher levels of government. And the negotiations with them are going to have to be contextual to the kind of person and the kind of people we're working with. I think it's different with the feds as it is with Doug Ford, because he bullies people and he rolls you over if you don't go in with a position of strength. I would also submit that we need to work with fellow municipalities, big cities across Canada and in Ontario, because Toronto is not often the one that other levels of government want to dedicate funding and supports to unilaterally. But if we work with our colleagues, we can have a stronger position.
Thank you.
So, of everyone out on this platform here today, I'm the only one that has put out a clear call to the federal and provincial government for a better and fairer deal for cities, Toronto included, but all cities. A 1% from the
I have to say that's not true, because I've been taking
1% from the HST would provide $800 million in funding that Toronto desperately needs, and that is something that I will lead as mayor. I've already started to do that, even before
From
June
day one,
26th.
from day one, I've been talking about a fair deal. I've put a proposal on the table that some might agree or disagree, but I have from day one said the province needs to take responsibility for the garden and the DVP.
Yeah, but that's a non-starter. The Premier's already said no.
It's a non-starter. Maybe for
he's already
you.
said no to that.
You know what? People also said no to the $2.6 billion.
But the Premier who makes the decision
you
has
based
said no.
all of your promises, though, on a hope that Doug Ford will do something that he said he wouldn't do.
There's very much costs, and there is, as we all agree,
the 1% fair deal is much bigger than that.
I got it.
The only person that's
candidates. We are getting short on time. Thank you, candidates.
That brings the experience.
We're going to move on now to our final segment. We've got to move on, and lots more to get through. So let's do that. Maybe picking up on this tone here, because now we're going to move on to something that frustrates almost everyone in this city, and that is just trying to get around Toronto right now. Candidates, these questions are all directly based off of your platforms, and we're going to go one by one through them. Mark Saunders, let's begin with you. You've laid a lot of blame on congestion on bike lanes as the reason why we've got so much congestion in the city, like the bike lanes on University Avenue. Wouldn't making cycling less accessible, potentially less safe, actually lead to more people getting in cars and creating even more congestion and traffic woes? I'll give you 1 minute to respond, please.
Yeah, so again, when I speak on the bike lanes, I've been very clear. I've not said that I'm anti-bike lane, but I do not agree with how it's being done, because it is having negative effects, A, on businesses, and B, on congestion. When you pick the two busiest streets in the country and make them single lane and then wind up with congestion, it is academic. It is a wrong choice. There's certain communities and there's certain ways in which it can be done. If you look at Eglinton Avenue West, for example, the bike lanes are fantastic there. On Ellesmere, certain portions, I've seen the bike lanes there. We can do it right by working collectively and making sure that we do it by communicating with the areas that it's going to have the most impact. The primary arteries are not the best choices. We can do it, but we can do it right. And right now, the way it has been done is not working. When I'm talking to BIAs and their concerns of not wanting the extension, we are going to lose businesses with this. I think that that's something that should be heard and should be dealt with. As a leader, by listening and then making the application for those bike lanes, we can have a successful conclusion.
Thank you for that, Mark Saunders. Olivia Chow, to you. Your platform seems to be focused on improving transit, as you've talked about, and bike infrastructure in this city. So in 1 minute, what would your message to drivers be?
Well, I talked about fixing potholes, but we are really tired being stuck behind in cars in traffic. But the only way to solve it is by having less cars on the road, really, because it's congestion. You need to have good alternative on public transit. Right now, after the budget cuts, the fare goes up, and then it costs about $200 per family more, a family of 4, right now, to take TTC. So you have less people taking TTC, and then you have more people in cars. The other thing is that because the service cut, what you're seeing is people waiting longer for buses or on the subway. As a result, again, fewer of them take the TTC. And TTC, because it's not kept up with the state of good repair, you saw just yesterday, between Kennedy and Warden, there was a breakdown, right? So we have to massively invest in TTC in order to get the roads less congested.
All right, thank you, Olivia. Josh Matlow, your approach is somewhat similar to what Olivia has been talking about too. So I'll ask kind of the same question. What would your message to those who drive in Toronto be in terms of how you would solve the congestion issue?
When I'm driving in the middle of traffic and I'm frustrated that I can't get anywhere because a whole bunch of people are on either side of me and we're not moving, I recognize that I am part of that traffic. And I agree that if we have less congestion on our roads, then we're able to get to where we want to get to. But we need to provide options for people that are realistic. So, for example, we need bike lanes that are safe. People are not going to choose to bike if they are not feeling safe and they don't have a direct route to where they need to get to safely. Yes, we have to do it thoughtfully, but we have to expand the network. We also need to improve TTC, and this is why I dedicated funds toward reversing the cuts, so that we can finally have more reliable, safe, and people need to feel safe in the TTC, and I have a proposal for that, along with it being more affordable so people choose the better way again. We need places for people to walk. We need options for people, and if we have a truly multimodal city that addresses safety and reliability and the ability to get around to where you need to go, whether it be school or work or wherever you need to get to, then we actually relieve that congestion, the pressure on all of us.
All right. Thank you, Josh Matlow. Mitzi Hunter, to you. You want to boost the number of crossing guards, increase the snow clearing budget, and create a team focused all around this issue. A minute to explain where you will get the money to fund that plan.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's my plan to fix the 6. It's a 3 and 6 plan. It will provide a very fair way for managing property taxes, and I actually believe that we need to present the city with a plan, and that's what I have done. So when they elect me, they know exactly what they are going to get. It's 6%, and those who have an income of $80,000 or below, it'll be half that at 3%, well below the rate of inflation. For seniors who have an income of $80,000 or below, it's actually no increase at all on their property taxes. And for small businesses, no increase. For creative activities, because we are a creative city, we need that creative arts sector. There's also for small businesses in that no increase as well. That is what I'm putting forward, and it's a plan that is laid out. So there will be a congestion officer that will help to coordinate those activities across departments as well, making sure that all the construction that's happening on this blocking our streets, that we have prioritization and coordination for that.
Thank you, Mitzi Hunter. Anna Bailão, to you. Your approach focuses on ticketing drivers who park illegally during rush hour or if they block intersections. These are steps that John Tory talked about and steps that he, in fact, started.
I moved the motion, actually.
And that Josh Matlow has moved the motion on.
Check it.
Team effort at City Hall there.
It's true.
A minute to answer this for you. They're small steps. How do you think those will make a big difference?
Well, you need a full plan. Investment in the TTC, attracting ridership back, safe, reliable, convenient way to bring people back to the TTC. You need to make sure that you do have a safe way for people to get around if they want to cycle. We can't have bike lanes on every major street. We know that. I had an example in my community. I wasn't able to have it on Dufferin. I have the busiest bus route on Dufferin. We had to put it on a side street. But we need a safe way to get around. And then we need to deal with traffic. Things like extended construction hours, so that areas that are having a lot of construction can happen quicker as well. Use of technology as well. Red light cameras connected to ticketing. And as you said, make sure that ticket and tow is permanent and citywide. I think, there's nothing more annoying that person in the morning stopping to get
their coffee is the most important thing in the world.
Yeah. And we need to be responsible, and we need to get the city moving. So we need a series of actions. So there needs it's a series of steps that need to be taken in order to get the city moving.
All right, thank you, Anna Bailão. We're going to move to another yes or no question. And you all have, people in this situation, a lot of Torontonians who don't have backyards or balconies, no outdoor space where they live. So they head to our beautiful parks. As mayor, I'd like to ask each of you, would you make it legal to have an alcoholic drink in city parks? Yes or no, and you each have 20 seconds to quickly tell us why. Mitzi Hunter, we'll start with you and we'll go around the table.
Well, yes, I believe Torontonians are responsible, and I'm adding 17 acres of parks as part of my plan to fix the 6. And so I believe that we need to make sure that our parks are also better locally managed, and I want to see that happen so that we actually have beautiful, clean parks. I'm going to be opening up water fountains faster, make sure they're maintained, and that the washrooms are also properly maintained. That has to come. If you're going to open up the parks for that type of, drinking responsibly, you make sure that the services and the supports and the cleaning and the management of those parks are happening. And under my plan, that will be done.
All right, quickly, we've got to race through because we've got to finish up here. Josh Matlow, yes or no?
Yes, everyone knows that. And I've initiated this proposal because it is an equity issue. Many Torontonians don't have backyards. And the reality is many of the things that I think people fear about this allowance, just to allow responsible adults to have a drink together in a park, whether it be a picnic or on a bench, comes from the existing issues, right? They're concerned about, behavior. That's not going to change. But if you look at cities around the world and here in Canada that already allow it, anarchy hasn't broken loose. There's no chaos. People are being responsible.
Okay, Anna Bilau, yes or no? And we got to stick to our 20 seconds because we want to wrap up.
Allow people that do it responsibly, but ensure that when that comes in, we have the enforcement for those that do not act responsible to act on it immediately.
Thank you, Anna Bilau. Mark Saunders, to you.
Sure. I would pilot it and make sure it's measured properly and just to look for those unintended consequences. But I do believe that the greater good will win at the end of the day. But I just want to take that extra layer of caution before the full yes to that.
Thank you, Mark. All right, Olivia, yes or no?
Yes, but it has to be neighborly, including washrooms, garbage, noise, all of those things.
All right, We're going to switch gears now and do a rapid fire quiz for everyone. So we don't need to spend a lot of time on this. This is quick. I think you'll all pass, though. Maybe I'll go out on a limb there. This is really all about your local favorites. And so that's what we're going to ask you. And it's a real, it's open. I'll give you the category. You give me your favorite, okay? Josh Matlow, why don't we start with you? Your favorite Toronto patio?
My favorite patio would be, honestly, the Black Bull, because it is the first patio, typically. I don't know if it always is the first, but typically the first one that opens up when the weather gets a little nicer. Even when people are wrapped up in sweaters or blankets, they go out there and have a beer and just enjoy the potential of spring.
The Black Bull, okay. Mitzi Hunter, let's go with you. Your favorite Toronto street?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. I was thinking about my patio. My favorite street, I would say Yonge Street. I would say, I have memories as a teenager, just going up and down all of the shops and you can just, it's walkable and there's a lot of energy always on Yonge Street.
Okay, thanks, Mitzi. Olivia Chow, your favorite Toronto music venue?
Ooh. Phoenix on Sherbourne.
Okay.
Because I've gone to a few concerts there, but I have many other ones. Can I? No. Okay, just one.
Just the one. Thank you. Thanks, Olivia. Okay, Mark Saunders, your favorite Toronto beach?
Well, I love, unfortunately, Sugar Beach. I just like the fact that it's put there and it's so pretty and it's busy all around it, but when you go there, you can just chill out, and if you're facing the water, you don't feel like you're in Toronto.
Oh, yes, I'm getting all the vibes from you all. Anna Bilau, your favorite Toronto festival?
Oh, Due West. It's coming up, by the way. Can I make a promo for Due West Fest coming up this weekend?
Pitching
it's
all
usually the first in the season. It's a great environment and the smell of food and people just coming out, it's fantastic. So
okay, thank you. We're gonna do
everybody's invited to Dundas Street.
She goes. We're gonna do one more round, a couple other favorites. So Josh, back to you. Your favorite Toronto restaurant to celebrate in?
I would say my favorite one. That's so hard.
It's a hard choice. I'm sorry, I know.
Yeah. Our favorite one. Can you come back to me on that? Honestly.
No, you got to answer. I'm gonna give you a 5-second countdown to come up with it.
Actually, historically, it's been Lotus Pond in Agincourt. It's a vegetarian Chinese restaurant that my family have been going to for years.
There we go. That might be a hidden gem, I think. I don't know. Okay, Mitzi Hunter, your favorite Toronto tourist attraction?
My favorite Toronto tourist attraction is the AGO. So I took my niece since she was 3 years old, and it's just beautiful architecture, and it's just always changing, and it's just gorgeous to visit.
Great, thank you. Olivia Chow, your favorite TTC line?
Spadina, because it's fast. It comes often, and it's right about 50 steps away from where I live.
There you go. Convenience is everything here. Mark Saunders, your favorite biking or hiking trail in the city?
Where do you bike, Mark?
Okay. Well, no, listen. No. The Don Valley East Ravine is where I've ridden with my family quite a bit, and I love it. It's nice and quiet if you go early. If not, then there's a ton of traffic.
The whole city goes in, yeah. Thank you, Mark. Okay, Annabella, last one for you, your favorite Toronto coffee spot.
Paradise.
Oh, yeah.
Go. Okay, yeah. One word, we'll leave it at that. Good enough.
In paradise, why say anything else?
Thank you so much. Interesting suggestions from all of you. And I think there's some good ideas for Torontonians and for tourists alike on those. So thank you so much, candidates. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Of course, we're going to have daily coverage of this by-election on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. Advance voting runs from June 8th to 13th. Polling stations will be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So make sure if you can't get out on voting day, do advance voting. Voting day is June 26th. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us.